So I made that decision right there, right then, that not only did my kids need me, that I was the perfect person with my education, my clinical background as a doctor, and now as someone who had experienced it, to provide this message, to bring this message out and to do something about it. And I decided that if I could help one family, one person from suffering what my family and I did, then I would be successful. Welcome to Self-Heal with Dr. Irene, where you'll learn powerful tools from world-class experts to heal yourself in all areas of your life, your health and energy, relationships, career, finances, and more. Welcome to the 5-step blueprint to shift from stress to success in all areas of your life. And to get started, I wanted to take you on a little journey as to why I created this 5-step blueprint. And it all started with my why. You see, 18 years ago, I was physically burned out, didn't know it, and lost consciousness while I was driving in northern Canada and ran literally into a massive 3-story rock face. Now, my 4 and 6-year-old were in the car with me, and my 4-year-old, who is in this picture with me, suffered a catastrophic brain injury. He wasn't supposed to live. And then once he did live, they said he would never walk again, he would never talk again, and he would never graduate high school. I broke 10 bones. And my 6-year-old son suffered from PTSD from what he witnessed at the scene. That was unacceptable to me, that I almost killed my young sons. I was spiraling down in guilt and shame and remorse that what kind of mother was I? What kind of doctor was I? What kind of monster was I? And I was just drowning. Forget the pain of the 10 broken bones. I was literally drowning in my fears for my children, and my inner judge and jury tried and convicted me of the worst crime imaginable. And I realized I had a choice at that point, that I could continue to spiral down and give up on life, give up on my kids, give up on my dreams of helping people. Or I could transmute that guilt, shame, and remorse into the burden of responsibility, understanding that I am far from being alone in experiencing and suffering from burnout. In fact, I'm in good company, and you may be one of them, or someone you love, like a family member, a coworker, a friend. It's a silent pandemic that can have physical consequences like mine, or cancer, or infections, or diabetes, or heart disease, or it may be mental and emotional consequences. It is a pandemic, and was far before COVID, and COVID has only worsened it. So I made that decision right there, right then, that not only did my kids need me, that I was the perfect person with my education, my clinical background as a doctor, and now as someone who had experienced it, to provide this message, to bring this message out and to do something about it. And I decided that if I could help one family, one person from suffering what my family and I did, then I would be successful. And I'd like to say it was an easy road, that all I had to do was make that decision and that was it. No. It took years. It took years of searching for the answers, refusing to believe those dismal prognoses for my sons, for myself. And I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in my education to make sure that I was the perfect person to deliver that message. And 5 years later, I hiked the alternative trail to Machu Picchu in Peru as my way of saying to myself and to the universe that I was back and I was better than before. And now, while I don't have an up-to-date picture of my son handy for this presentation, I want to set your mind at ease that not only is he walking and talking, he's halfway through his 4th year of engineering in university. So all that searching, all that investment paid off for my family. It's paid off for my clients since, and now I'm bringing it to you. And the 5-step blueprint starts at stress. Go figure. Now, here's the thing. Stress is survival mode. And it impacts your brain just like having like a frontal lobotomy. It knocks out all of your conscious, what I call your superstar, rock star executive team. Your prefrontal cortex is the fancy name for it. It is what governs your ability to think straight and remember. It's that being able to think logically and find creative solutions to problems, actually be motivated to get into action, to take action on those solutions, and to inhibit your emotions so that you're not crying at the drop of a hat or flying off the handle at a loved one or coworker. So, and you want it that way, because when you are faced with life or death situation, you don't want to be sitting there going, now, should I be running away at this point, or should I turn around and fight? Or maybe I should just like freeze and pretend that they don't know me or don't see me. That is the stress response, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. And so, and you want it that way because that's not the time to be like debating, right? So when you're in survival mode, it literally knocks out your executive team. And you go on instinct and what is hardwired to do. A gazelle runs, a honey badger fights, and a rabbit freezes. And we are the same. We have our own ways of that we are hardwired to deal with stress. There is no right or wrong way. The challenge is that we humans are the only ones in the whole universe that we know of anyway, who continue the stress by dwelling on the past, the traumas that we have experienced, the adversity, that fight that we had with our spouse or co-worker, or worrying about the future and what might happen in the future. A gazelle, once they run away from a lion and the coast is clear, they just go back to grazing or drinking water. They don't sit there and go, oh no, what if there's another lion that's going to attack me in half an hour? Right? We are the only animals that we know of that do that, where we worry about what the future will hold. And so that we are constantly, it seems nowadays, especially with the dose of COVID and the global crisis and unrest, that we are constantly under stress. There is no let up. There's no shaking it off and having that relaxation reset time that a gazelle gets, for instance. And that is the challenge on so many levels. That is what impacts us physically and causes physical burnout, as in the condition that I developed. It could be trouble sleeping. It could be gaining weight because stress makes you pack on the pounds and develop diabetes and heart disease and autoimmune conditions because it wrecks your immune system. So it can cause autoimmune conditions like maybe you've noticed that you have more allergies or sensitivities, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, or it may be cancer, right? Because your immune system has been whacked out and you have nothing left to fight. Your energy suffers. You're exhausted. You feel like you can't get up in the morning. And that's at a physical level as well as a mental and emotional. So there may be feelings of overwhelm, of anxiety, feeling low or depressed, just, again, brain fog, feeling like, you can't see the forest for the trees. You can't make a decision to save your life. That is what stress does, my friends. And when you are in that space, you need SOS. You need to send out an SOS signal. And this is the first step in my 5-step process, because I recognize that you need to knock down that stress response and shift out of survival mode into success mode, because otherwise no other step ahead is going to do it. So the SOS procedures that I teach are all designed and do provide that reset for you, help you ground and center quickly, easily, powerfully, in moments, seconds, few minutes. There's so many different ways that I've taught my clients to shift back into success mode. And it does that primarily because when you are under stress, your amygdala, which is your 5-alarm emotion center, is just like, wow. It's like constantly sending out alarms. And you need to calm that down so that then your executive team can shift back in. The next step, once you have utilized the SOS tools, is choice. It's understanding that you always have choice and control in every given situation. It may not be what you would like, and it is always there. And so it starts with the awareness and asking the question from a curious standpoint of, what are my options here? What are my options? And just as with the stress response, that it may be fight, flight, or freeze, you always have a choice that you can leave a situation. In the extreme, you can leave this life, or a marriage, or a job, or a house you're not happy with, or you may choose to fight. And there's no right or wrong to these. When you fight, it's fight the good cause. Don't just pick a fight. Make sure it's for a good reason. You can freeze, which is that you do no action. You make no decision, but really that's a choice too. Or you can choose to change your mind and your mindset around the experience. It may be, and this is the most powerful, to understand that life is happening for you, accept that life is happening for you. And by that, I always get pushback until I say, at the very least, it is helping you hone your physical, mental, emotional, energetic, spiritual character. In other words, adversity is one of the greatest schools. There's a reason why they say the school of hard knocks, right? But that's only works if you're not bitter about it. In other words, if you choose to use the experience to become the best version of you. Because if you don't understand and use your ability to choose, then you're not free and you're not successful. You're caged. You have put yourself in a cage. It's about choosing to know, I have the choice. Am I going to be the tail that gets wagged by the dog, or am I going to be the dog that wags the tail? I don't know about you, but I want to be wagging the tail, not be the tail getting whacked around. The next step is creating a vision. And that can seem far out there if you're not familiar with this term of what a vision is. A vision is, very simply, it's like when you get in your car and you input a destination into your GPS, right? Creating a vision for yourself, for your life, does the same thing. You've got a cybernetic mind. It needs a target. It needs a destination to move toward. And if you're not working on your own vision, guaranteed you're a worker bee working in someone else's vision. So what does a vision look like? Number one, it starts with getting crystal clear on what you don't want. And the reason I start with this is because we're pessimistically hardwired right now so far because of millennia of needing to survive. So everything, most of our programming is fear-based and negative and pessimistic. So it's really easy for us to think about what we don't want. You ever ask a girlfriend or a friend, so what do you want in a relationship? And they'll say, well, I'll tell you what I want in a relationship. I don't want them to, they can't drink, they can't smoke, they can't do drugs, they can't cheat, they can't abuse me, right? In other words, they think that they're telling you what they do want, and what they're really doing is telling you what they don't want. And that is good so long as they then use it and you use it. So first step is to get crystal clear on what you don't want. One of the things, a little exercise I have my clients do is to take a blank sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle, put on the left-hand side what I don't want, and you can make the categories of success: career, wealth, health and energy, relationships, personal life. And just quickly, top of mind, jot down, what don't you want in your career? I don't want to be in a dead-end job. I don't want to always be scrabbling for money. I don't always want, I don't want to be in pain and disabled by the time I'm 70, right? In other words, put down and allow yourself this time to think about all the things that you don't want. And then on the other side of the page, turn every one of those negatives into what I do want. If I don't want to be in a dead end, unfulfilling job, I want a career that is fulfilling, that lights me up, that doesn't feel like work, and because I'm enjoying it so much, right? Do that for every single one. Next, now it's time to create goals. And you may have heard this term. As they said, I didn't create this. It's like SMART goals. Make sure they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And that is where you take that dream big vision. And when you make a vision, I want you to think like as big as you can, like to the end of your life. And then draw it back and go, okay, so what do my goals need to be then for 10 years, 5 years? Let's do 90 days. These are my goals for the next 90 days in each of these areas, right? Step by step, inch by inch, everything's a cinch. The next step is purpose. Because if you don't have a purpose, you're not free and you're not successful. You're lost. And when I talk about purpose, that is that big why. The Japanese call it your ikigai. In French, it's your raison d'etre, your reason for being. It's your reason to get up in the morning. It is whatever gives meaning to your life. And again, there's no right or wrong here. It is knowing that you choose your purpose. So many people are waiting to find their purpose. No, you choose it. And it may, as it did for me, come out of the adversity that you have suffered in your life. Another reason to be grateful for it, back under the choice level. So you may be, so my mess became my message. I still had a choice, and I chose to make that my ikigai, my big why. And once you choose that, the next step is to make sure that whatever your vision and goals are, that they are congruent, and your purpose are congruent with your core values. Now, core values can sound really nebulous, or maybe you might be able to think of some like, oh, I'm all about love, or I'm all about family. Well, you may be very surprised. There's a core values exercise I take all my clients through, and it's really honing in on what your core values are and understanding that it's okay that they change. In fact, you change, you grow. You're not the same person you were 10 years down the before, and not the same as you will be 10 years up the road, right? In other words, it's an ongoing process. And I call it either your 5 to thrive, or if you want to do 5, or if you want to take it down even further, you can do your coat of arms. In other words, what are those 4 words, those that values that you want to live your life by, that would go on your coat of arms like they had in medieval times, right? So that is your core values. And then, just as we went inch by inch, step by step with your vision down into your goals, it's important to do the same thing with your purpose and core values down into the day-to-day, right? Because even though, and trust me, I have a massive ikigai to help as many people in the world as possible transform their lives and well-being, and I still need motivation moment to moment, day to day. Some days are easier than others. And that is why it's important to choose what I lovingly call your carrots. In other words, dangling a carrot out in front of you. In other words, what is going to be that thing that motivates you and keeps you going when the going gets tough? And understand that the going is always going to get tough, because guess what? It's the cycle of development. We always, always, always go through the valley of despair before we come out the other side. So what is going to help you get through the valley of despair? Choose your carrots and choose wisely. And the final step of the 5-step blueprint to shift from stress to success is belief. If you don't have belief in yourself, in others, and in the possibility of your vision even coming true, then you have nothing. You have nothing. And it's just wishful thinking. So again, really quick exercise that I take my clients through is the 3 beliefs, and asking yourself, what do I believe about my role in this vision coming true? I'm rated on a scale of 0 to 10. If it's not at least an 8 out of 10, what do I need to believe about it? Next step, what do I need to believe about others? In other words, you can ask yourself the same question: what do I believe about others with respect to my vision? Do I believe that they'll support me? Do I believe that they need what I have to offer? Right? If it's not at least an 8 out of 10, your current belief, ask yourself, what do I need to believe so that I'm not just wishful thinking here? And then the final belief check is, what do I believe about the possibility of this even coming true? Again, 8 out of 10 or more. If not, what do I need to believe? And that is different than the belief in yourself. The belief in yourself is, I have what it takes. I have the capability. I have the skills. I have the talents. I have the experience. The belief in others is that I have all the support I need from others. And it can also be others want and need whatever value I'm offering, I'm putting out. And the final one is, what is the possibility? So for instance, everyone thought, number one, that the earth was flat for thousands of years, right? And nobody ventured farther than the horizon, because they were so sure that if you went that way, you were going to fall off the edge of the earth. And they believed it so strongly that when Galileo started spouting heretical nonsense that the earth revolved around the sun and that the earth was round, he was actually charged and convicted and excommunicated on threat of torture if he didn't recant what he was saying, right? A more recent example, everyone used to believe it was impossible, physically impossible for humans to run faster than a 4-minute mile, until Roger Bannister did it mere decades ago under subpar conditions, and he had already worked a long day. As soon as he did it, people started doing it all around the world. What stopped them before? Belief. Belief. You must have that belief to have success. And that, my friends, is the 5-step blueprint to shift from stress to success. And these are what I went searching for and spent years looking for the answers so that I could help my family succeed in their health and energy, in their lives, and be successful in every area of life. And then I transmuted that to my clients and now to you. That's not the end of the story, because if that were the case, then, right, we would already be at the top, because there's not much that's new here. Maybe the SOS part, or maybe understanding that you have a choice, but everything else others teach. So what's the difference? The difference is that I recognize that my catastrophic burnout didn't happen because I needed to do more self-care. That's part of it. And it wasn't just overwork. That's part of it. It wasn't, as many people have experienced, that their boss doesn't appreciate them or that they don't get enough time off at work. That's all part of it. And those are surface issues. Just as the vast majority of an iceberg is below the surface, and I might add the most dangerous part, as the Titanic found out. What I learned is that there are 4 hidden barriers that you may be somewhat aware of if it smacks you in the face, and overall they're hidden. Why? Because they're in your unconscious mind. And this is truly what blocks your success, because it drains your energy, it drains your focus, and it throws up roadblocks. And you know, no matter how hard you try, these 4 barriers are the reason why 93% of people fail even when they choose to make change. And the first one is victim sabotage patterns. And no one likes to think that they're playing the victim. And I lovingly have news, and I get pushback until I explain to my clients why. And that is, the victim is where you are feeling powerless, where you're feeling out of control, like life is being done to you. Right? So when you believe you have no choice, you're automatically in victim, first of all. And on top of that, your unconscious mind, who runs the show 99% of the time, doesn't like change. It considers it to be danger. It's like that danger, 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 Will Robinson, right? Because your unconscious mind its whole job is to keep things like automated processes. It keeps your heart beating, keeps you breathing, whether you're awake or asleep. It keeps your body temperature the right temperature, your blood pressure, right? In other words, it runs all of your automated processes, and you want it that way because otherwise you'd never get anything done, right? It'd be like, I need to take a breath. Oh, now I need to beat my heart. Now I need to push some blood over here, right? We couldn't survive. We couldn't survive. We need our unconscious mind to be in control. But because it likes everything same old, whenever you go to make a change, your unconscious mind goes, hell no, that ain't happening, not on my watch. So as soon as you may make it say, I'm going to drop 20 pounds. I'm going to join the gym and I'm going to drop 20 pounds. And you're all gung-ho for a while. And then what happens? You take your attention off the goal, as you must do, because let's face it, we have to live life. And then who's in charge? Your unconscious mind. And one of the favorite ways it has to derail you and get you back to what it considers to be the safety zone is by having you go into these victim sabotage patterns. Make sense? So the question here to ask yourself is not, am I running a victim pattern? It's where am I and how is it showing up? So that is crucial, is figuring out where, and just being curious, not judgmental towards yourself, just curious. I wonder if Dr. Irene was right. I wonder where that might be showing up. And you just might have an oh moment. Okay. The next one, it's your programming. Remember I said we have been hardwired for millennia to think pessimistically, to be fearful. And our well-meaning parents, everything was fear-based, right? Thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. And there's some important ones, like don't put your hand on the stove when it's hot. Got it, right? And at the same time, the programming that has been instilled into us, especially as children, when we just kind of sop everything in, is overwhelmingly negative and pessimistic. It's survival mode. The challenge is that it's not what serves you when you want to shift into success mode. So the beautiful thing is, though, that you can change your programming. You can upgrade it. You can get rid of glitches, any faulty programming. And again, that's one of the things that I teach my clients. And the next one, if it's going to click, whoops, I just realized my picture was hiding it. There's two more. One is the fears. Remember I talked about the negative programming, the pessimistic programming. It's all fear-based, and guaranteed, if you're not successful, there are some kind of fears that are operating, especially at an unconscious level, that you may not even be aware of. And again, they often, all of these go hand in hand. I'm separating them out for the purposes of this, and there are always overlaps. So it may be fear. Do you ever hear a phrase? I know my farmer family said it all the time: better to play safe and small, because the higher you go, the harder you fall, right? They even had rhymes about it, right? So the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, death and disability is in there too. And the fear of rejection is more powerful than the fear of death or disability. That's why most people are so afraid of public speaking. It's the fear of rejection. And then the most powerful fear is the one that is perhaps the most challenging to understand, and it's still the most powerful. And that is fear of the ego death. Remember I said your unconscious mind doesn't want to change? Well, your unconscious mind is also what houses your identity, or in psychological terms, they call it your ego, which is your collection of habits and programming and memories that you have, right? So your unconscious mind does not want to change, right? It is afraid to. And it could be a change. I want to live like in a waterfront home and that is big and beautiful and has enough space for so many people to come visit, or maybe I want a 50-foot yacht, maybe, right? But here's the thing, your unconscious mind is like whispering in the background, but that's not you. That's not you. We can't have that. That's not you. And it will sabotage you, usually by putting you into victim. The final barrier is the trauma. Trauma. And there are 3 different levels of trauma. You are perhaps very likely aware of trauma that you have personally experienced, right? Adversity, whether it was as a child, maybe being bullied, or abusiveness or neglect as a child, unfortunately, or maybe it's, you know, that time that you got fired from a job that you loved, right? In other words, or you felt betrayed because a spouse was disloyal, for instance. And betrayal is not just in romantic relationships either. There are other types of trauma that they now recognize that have impacted you without your even realizing it. The next one is intergenerational trauma. Intergenerational trauma means that when your parents, your grandparents, whoever in your lineage had helped raise you, they have taken their fear responses and their PTSD from their adversity, their trauma that they suffered, and they have unconsciously instilled that in you. And that is very, very powerful because it fits into the fear-based programming and the fears. The next and deepest level of trauma that they are just now realizing is what I call epigenetic PTSD. Epigenetic is a fancy word that means that the experience modifies your genetic expression, your DNA's expression. And it's been shown that fear can be transmitted down through the genes without a grandparent or a great grandparent ever having any contact with you whatsoever. It can also change the physical genetic expression. In other words, it can decrease your longevity and set you up for failure with physical conditions. In other words, very, very, very powerful. And it's at the unconscious level, unconscious just meaning automated level, in other words, without your conscious awareness. And it's important and crucial that that trauma be cleared as well. So when people ask me what sets what I do apart, I used to, true confessions, have the hardest time explaining, well, you see, there's this, and there's this, and there's this, and this, and this, and this. But now I've coalesced it down to the 5-step blueprint to shift from stress to success, as well as these 4 barriers, these 4 unconscious barriers that are setting you up for failure. And they are so important that I have created a whole program that is designed and will eradicate the biggest, baddest nasties of these in a 4-week boot camp. It's called Retrain Your Brain Boot Camp. 4 weeks to shift from stress to success. Now, obviously, in 4 weeks, we may not clear out every single one of your barriers. And you'll clear out enough that you will see phenomenal results. We have testimonials from people who have taken the program who say that their multiple sclerosis symptoms have improved or been minimized, that their relationships have blossomed with their kids or their spouse, that they now have the confidence and the peace of mind to go after that job, that career that they really want, rather than feeling caged in one that doesn't support or fulfill them. Right. So the Retrain Your Boot Camp, 4 weeks to shift from stress to success mode. And it's all about clearing those 4 barriers at an unconscious level. If you are interested, reach out for more information. Thanks for listening to Self-Heal with Dr. Irene. Please head over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. By doing so, this will help us reach more people with our message. Be sure to visit www.selfheal.life to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. And keep listening for more insights and tools to empower you to heal yourself and enjoy life to the max.